They've been worshipping shayateen, jinnat. So, in matters of visions and dreams, so nowadays people, angels, okay, that's fine, angels are angels, but now things are happening, many people see visions and they see pious people in it, even posing as Anbiya alayhimus salam, even posing as angels, even posing as great awliya like Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani or anything. And they are jinnat and shayateen who take on the form. Rasulullah said that his original form, no shaitan, no jinn can take. But people who see and say, we see Prophet ﷺ, they don't know what is the original form of Rasulullah ﷺ. How can they differentiate? So any person come and say, I am Muhammad Rasulullah, they'll be happy, I've seen Rasulullah, I've seen Rasulullah ﷺ. Whilst they are not really sure. Because Prophet ﷺ said that Shaitan cannot take my form. Which form? His original form. And he was saying this to the Sahaba Rizwanul Alayhim Ajma'in. So that's why Imam Ibn Sirin, Rahmatullah Alayhi, a great scholar of Hadith and Ta'bid, he used to, when people came and said, we saw in the vision, in the dream, Prophet ﷺ, he would say, describe him. Describe his features. And if they describe him and his features match what's in the books, what the Sahaba said, he said, it's a blessing for you. He mentioned the interpretation, that this is the interpretation. It's a blessed dream for you. And if the person described, I saw Rasulullah ﷺ looking like this, and if his features did not match what's in the books, what the Sahaba narrated, he would say, you've seen someone else. You have seen someone else. So many people are misguided. They think they have seen angels, and the angels are taking them out of Sharia. They're doing things, they're not praying, they are meeting women, or actually just wandering around and doing all sorts of things, not on Sunnah, nor they know the knowledge of Sharia, the necessary knowledge of Aqidah, nor they're following the Sunnah. They're just the spiritual people who, for example, say that we are now free from prayers and things, or some halal and haram, they mix and things. And all is happening is shayateens are playing with them, the jinnat are playing with them, posing as angel, jinnat are playing with them, posing as awliya, and jinnat are, the shayateen are playing with them, posing as anbiya. And even Rasulullah ﷺ's form, they can never come in, but they come in other forms and say, I am Muhammadur Rasulullah ﷺ. So anything the person sees in dream or vision, firstly, if they have a teacher, they should have a teacher, they should refer back to him, only then they will be guided. If they don't have teacher, then the rule of thumb is that judge your dream, present your dream on Quran and Sunnah and the fiqh and aqidah which are Adal Sunnah wal Jama'ah. If it anything contradicts, throw it in the bin, forget. And if it complies with Quran and Sunnah and the awliya and mashayikh, it is just a explanation or more details of deen and hikmats and wisdoms of deen, then actually you accept and take a message and take an encouragement and be more steadfast. Be more steadfast on deen. So देखा in the Miraj there is a lesson for the visionary people as well. Miraj में इसके भी सबक है कि कैसे बचना है, कि ख्वाबों से, कश्फ से, कि मैं गुमराही से कैसे बचना है. How to save yourself in this thing. And I mentioned to you, jinnat, they pose as angel, they pose as awliya, they pose as anbiya, they pose as sahaba and shayateen, and they actually have made many people astray like this. Once Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah Alayhi got up and he saw his wife was praying to Allah with her hands, and there was a ball of light. There's a ball of light, very beautiful light emanating from it, peace and very tranquil environment. The ball of light, wonderful like a lamp from the unseen world, and the wife is, his wife was there doing dua, and like our people say, I am really feeling pleasure, and when they see the light, they feel more pleasure. भाई ये नूर आ रहा है, मेरी दुआ कबूल हो रही है. Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmahullah, he was just passing by in that room, and he, with his hand, he touched, and the light actually went off. And again he touched, another light came, and he said, the first light was from shaitan, and this is from the divine, which is now. But she could not tell the difference. पहला जो नूर था वो शैतान की तरफ से था, उसने तुम्हें गुमराह कर देना था आहिस्ता आहिस्ता. And the second one, so for us actually it is, we have no safety except the fortress of the Sunnah and Sharia of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No one is safe. Because even when the Wahi came, Wahi on Anbiya alayhi salam, they cannot, now Jibreel is so strong angel that angels fear him and Jinnat fear him. He is with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Shaitan still is posing in the way. यानी इतना मजबूत फरिश्ता साथ है ताकतवर के जितना भी सारे शयातीन से वो ताकतवर है. Jibreel alone is more powerful all shayateen on the face of the earth, and they know that. But still, you see, even though he is with him, still Shaitan is posing and getting the trying to get attention of the Prophet is calling to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's not that why he was there. It is not that Allah SWT did not know, Jibreel Islam or Rasulullah did not know. It is to give lesson to us people who come after and say, I am having a spiritual journey. I am also a very spiritual person. I am on a spiritual trip. So that they know and learn that actually Jibreel represents Sharia. Jibreel represents Wahi and Sharia. He is not the teacher of the Prophet. He represents Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Jibreel teaches, it's like Allah is teaching Rasulullah. He is just the medium. So Jibreel alayhi salam, वो क्या represent कर रहे हैं? वो Sharia represent कर रहे हैं. तरीका represent कर रहे हैं. He is representing a तरीका. He is representing Sharia. He is representing Sunnah. मतलब आपको कोई भी हाल आ जाए, मजा आ जाए, लुत्फ आ जाए, you are in a very spiritual state. You are very feeling peaceful, enjoyment, you are seeing lights and wonders of the hereafter or the dreams or some things are happening supernatural. Ask Sharia and Sunnah. Jibreel will guide you, meaning the Sharia and Sunnah or the Shaykh will guide you. Otherwise, in this age and in previous ages, many people have gone astray because of this. This Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadir, who posed as a prophet, Shayateen came and they said, I am Jibreel to him. Shayateen came and said to Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, although he was a scholar, we are nothing, we are a piece of cake, like carrot for us to lead us astray. It is a matter of left hand for Shaitan. He led astray many awliya and very highly scholarly people who were very high caliber of scholars. And now as well, you can see many scholars, they are not acting up in Sunnah and they think they are great scholars of the world. And they are not acting up in Sharia, they think they are great walis of the world. So, Jibreel alayhi salam represents the Sharia and the Sunnah. So a person should actually always go back. Otherwise, you have no safety. Otherwise, you have no safety. So I was giving you an example of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad and Musaylama Kazzab and Aswad al-Ansi, those people who thought they were prophets. So they were convinced when these shayateen came and said, I am Jibreel, I am coming with Wahi to you. And he said, okay, then prophethood has ended. They said, yes, it has ended, but actually not in that way. Now actually the message is continuing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided to continue the message. So if Allah asked that the prophethood had ended, now Allah is saying that Jibreel, now will have shayateen posing as jinnat, Jibreel and Mikael, that it is fine. So he became convinced that he is a true prophet. Because in his early stage, many miracles and miraculous things happened. उसके बहुत सारे वो दान करता था, बंदे ठीक हो जाते थे. He used to tell what were people doing in the houses. Someone will see dream, you will become cured if you go to, they'll come there and they'll become cured. You see, someone is possessed by jinnat and they say if you go there, you will be cured. They will go to Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in the early stages when he didn't claim prophethood. And so people were, he had kind of supernatural spiritual powers. But he did not know at that time that he is being duped, he is being conned. At later stage, firstly they said you are Imam Mahdi, then you are Masih, then you are Prophet, and simple as that. We shouldn't say, oh, why did he? We might be ourselves on his tracks. So we should be fearful ourselves. He is leading different people in different ways. So in the night of Miraj, firstly the lesson obviously was not to look even. So that's why we say to people that if the Shaykh has not said to you focus on something, if the teacher has not said to focus on something in muraqabah or anything comes in your way, don't pay attention. You go towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You say, I want Allah subhanahu, I want Allah's presence. I want to be close to Him. I don't want to see things, visions and places and things. Unless the teacher says to focus on something, then you can be saved. But as I say, if you don't have teacher, then Sharia and Sunnah is always there to protect you. Just go back to in the books and you can know what is right aqidah, what is not. Don't follow that. Na'uz billah, you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have a special relationship with you and you have something different than others. It's okay for you. That's what Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani experienced himself when he went through a lot of mujahida, lot of tazkiyah and spiritual journey. Even he saw a very big vision in the heavens. All the heavens, sky was filled with that vision. A light of such unparalleled beauty, a face, lights emanating from like the sun, and it was supposed that the voice came, oh Abdul Qadir, I am your Lord. Abdul Qadir, I am your Lord. Tajalli hogi Allah ki. And I have become such pleased with you now, you don't need to be so much strict upon yourself on Sharia, because you have left everything, you have annihilated, you left the dunya. So for you it does not matter, all things are lawful for you. You pray sometime or do not pray, you're always in my prayers. You're always in my zikr. So for you it's not 5 prayers, you are all-time prayer. So Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmahullah, because he had a teacher, Shaykh Abu Sa'id, and he was a man of knowledge as well. And he said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, that there is no power to change, no power to give anyone, to do goodness or to be saved from evil except Allah. He said this, and he said, go you away, O cursed shaitan, lanti malum dafa'ullah. हमारे जैसा बंदा होता तो वो तो कहता मुझे तो भैया अल्लाह की बस ज़ियारत हो गई है, अब मैं तो बहुत बड़ा बुजुर्ग बन गया हूँ. I have become a very saintly person. I have seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's tajalli, and now yes, it's true that I am very annihilated. I've left everything. Now there is a flexibility. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has become merciful with me, compassionate. अब कोई नहीं, मैं थोड़ा बहुत कभी गाना बजाना सुन लिया, उठा बैठ गया, कभी नमाज पढ़ ली, कभी कोई हरज नहीं, क्योंकि मैं तो हर वक्त नमाज में रहता हूँ. I'm all the time in dhikr, I'm all the time in namaz. So Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahimahullah was mentioning this to his students and teaching them to safeguard themselves. They said to him, oh our master, how is it that you knew that he is shaitan? He said, I knew that Rasulullah is the most beloved of Allah. Allah did not give him instruction like this, flexibility like this. And after him, there is no prophet, no halal can become haram, Sharia has ended. So I knew that these instructions are coming where there is temperance in the Sharia. This can never be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. वो हलाल को हराम, हराम को हलाल कह रहा है, तो वो शैतान ही हो सकता है, वो जो है यानी अल्लाह की तरफ से नहीं हो सकता. Second thing, after that, as I said, that Jibreel Islam said, Ya Rasulullah sallam, the old man which you saw was shaitan. जो बुरा बंदा देखा था वो शैतान था, इसलिए मैंने कहा उनको ना उसकी तरफ तवज्जो ना फरमाएं. एंड दोनों का मकसद आपको अपनी तरफ माइल करना था. They both wanted to attract you towards them. So meaning when you will go towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, travel towards Allah on the path, dunya and shaitan are going to come upon you together. People of dunya and shayateen, and they are going to come upon you like vultures coming upon a dead corpse. लोग और दुनिया और शैतान इकट्ठे होकर जिससे जो बंदा मजहबी बन जाएगा उसके बहुत सारे लोग खिलाफ हो जाएंगे. People will turn against you. People will turn against you. Your family might turn against you. Your own family, like in the times of Anbiya alayhi salam, many of their own nation, own family, own uncles, fathers, sons, wives, they became against them. They became the obstacle. Because once you are on the journey to achieve success forever, now shaitan never tolerates it. So dunya and the love of dunya, the worldly people, and the as it mentioned by the Mashayikh, that sometimes shaitan does not come directly to you because he knows you won't follow him. He comes to you through your family and friends. Brother, what you are doing? You were quite sociable first. You were a very, very happy person. Why you have come like this now? The family, he might come through the husband, he might come through the wife, he might come through the children, speaking on their tongue. But how do you know shaitan is speaking on their tongue? Anything they say against Allah, His Messenger sallam, or deen, or regarding following Sunnah and Sharia, know that they are now the mouthpiece of shaitan. They are no more them. That is the rule. They have become possessed people. Shaitan is using them as ploys. And then Jibreel Islam said that after we went past dunya and shaitan, then we saw a group of people who said salam upon you. Ya Rasulullah, they were the Jamaat of Anbiya. That was Hazrat Ibrahim, Hazrat Musa and Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. So this hadith narrated by Imam Baqi and Anas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, akhrajahu Ibn Jarir wal Bayhaqi. Meaning, this is also a lesson that yes, you can meet the spirits of Anbiya or Awliya as well, but you have to differentiate. You have to differentiate. Without differentiating, you can't. Nowadays, what's happening? There are two groups of Muslims. One, they say, you can never have any vision or anything, nothing, angel, no, for example, a prophet can be seen in a vision or dreams, etc. That is false itself, because Rasulullah said you can see good dreams. You can see prophets and Anbiya in dreams and visions. And it is in Quran that awliya can see malaika. Look, Hazrat Maryam radiallahu ta'ala is a waliya. She is not a prophet, but she saw Jibreel alayhi salam when he came to give good news of his son. إِذْ قَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَا مَرْيَمُ. When the malaika came second time, they gave إِنَّ لَا يُبَشِّرُكَ. Allah is giving you good news of a son. So who came? Angels. Who came? Jibreel. To who? A prophet? No, a wali. A waliya. So in the Quran there is evidence that the kashf or of the rawah of Anbiya and Awliya, the angels they can communicate with you. जो कुरान में लिखी है, मरियम रज़ी अल्लाह ताला को नबी नहीं. So the third part, meaning we are saying that you can see Anbiya, like Rasulullah met Anbiya alayhi salam in the Bayt al-Muqaddas and in the Masjid al-Aqsa, and met. But these two things, so you should always differentiate. So one group of Muslim, they say you can't see completely, they out, whatever anyone sees, it's wrong. The others who believe in awliya and anbiya, whatever they see, they think it is them, it is the awliya, it is the angels. It comes to their mind, they never want to believe it can be shayateen and jinnat. वो जो भी नजर आ रहे वो समझते हैं यही वो बुजुर्ग या वली मुझे नजर आ रहे. इस तरह कई लोग, कई फिरके गुमराह हो गए इस वजह से. Many people have gone astray, the sects have gone astray. One extreme is that you don't believe in anything, and the other extreme is that whatever you see is good all the time. तो ये दोनों चीजें जो हैं वो गलत, यानी middle way is there. Yes, you can see the righteous anbiya, awliya in the dream and visions, and you can see shayateen as well. How you judge them? What they say, what they do, what they are giving the message to you. And the safest way is that if you have a teacher, spiritual teacher, scholars, ulama cannot guide you on they themselves don't know. If they are ulama of fiqh or ulama of tafsir, they don't have any knowledge of the spiritual field, they cannot be your teacher in that field. They won't know themselves. They themselves will be confused. And they'll be surprised, oh, have you seen this? How can that be possible? So how will they answer you then your problem when it is a news for themselves? I never saw, I never heard. So this means that they people. So as you go to a doctor and you say, I have pain here in this part, and it's a news for him, he said, I wonder how one can have pain here. It can't happen. I've never heard. So this means that he can't cure you, he can't diagnose you really. How will he cure you when he doesn't know? So there are men for every field. There are men for fiqh, there are men for hadith, there are ulama for hadith, muhaddiseen, mufassirin, fuqaha, and there are categories, qaris, muftis, and then there are men of spiritual field of tazkiyah and ihsan. But anyway, we were focusing on that regarding Mi'raj, Rasulullah and Jibreel was saying that have your attention, don't pay attention, don't look at even dunya and shaitan. So that's why we are saying that if you are also on a Mi'raj to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you should also try to save yourself from looking at these things extraordinarily with very passion. So yes, Brother Isman, if you read further, the person traveling the path.
The person traveling the path should refrain from looking at anything that the lower baser self wants. This is because images that are viewed with the eyes make a stamp on the heart. And as long as the heart is stamped with the images of created things, the soul will not be able to perceive the light of the divine. In our deen, we have laws for looking at the nakedness of people. The rule is that anything that is unlawful to look at in real life is also unlawful to look at when depicted in a lifelike photograph.
So this refers to that anything, for example, with the naked eye you can't look, it is unlawful for you according to the fiqh. Then it is unlawful to look it in the form of picture or TV or print or even actually make a picture out of it in your mind. You see, mind have the power to imagine and make pictures. So you are not looking at the pictures outside, but you are constructing the pictures on the screen of your mind. That is also unlawful. Yes.
Therefore, pornography in magazines, billboards, posters, electronic screens, projector screens, etc. is all unlawful. As our definition of pornography is very strict, since it includes the exposure of both the light and the coarse nakedness of the human being, The person living in the present time and the future will face difficulty practicing this ruling. Any time that a ruling is difficult to practice, the person should try his best and ask Allah for forgiveness.
So our definition in Islam of pornography, यानी देखना जो नाजायज चीजें हैं वो it is more strict than actually the normal definition of like here in Western culture. For example, they would say you are not allowed to look at nakedness of women in a particular way, or the men, or the children, etc., etc. But others they will allow. But in Islam, for example, you cannot look. It's considered pornography even to look at the face of women with lust. Face of women with the lust, for the women to look at the men with lust. And pornography obviously includes anything in magazines, billboards, posters. So, because these images are going to corrupt your heart. They're going. Rasulullah said that these are like the arrows of shaitan, poisonous arrows of shaitan. So, and the other thing he has said that sometimes it is difficult for you to safeguard yourself. And he has mentioned at any rule, any time. You see, this is a very useful sentence. Any time that a ruling is difficult to practice, the person should try his best and ask Allah for forgiveness. This applies to all things. For example, you say, I can't stop listening to music because I'm in the restaurant, I am there. You don't have shutters to actually close your eyes, you close your ears, like we have for eyes. So there you do best, meaning don't take enjoyment and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. You are in such a way that you can't avoid, for example, a certain amount of interest. It has come to a certain state, but now it doesn't mean that somewhere you were forced or you were pressurized and now you start taking interest of even where there is no pressure and nothing. So meaning that different circumstances, fattaqullaha mastata'tum. Practice taqwa as much as ability you have and ask forgiveness of Allah will actually forgive you. Don't give a free hand to shaitan and sin because I can't stop from there, I might as well do all bad things as well. So in whichever situation you are, you think you can't save yourself and you got yourself into a sin, save yourself as much as you can from it, to the level you can, and ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is, don't just nakedly, outrightly jump into the well and of sin. जितना भी बच सकते हैं, बंदा बाहर जा रहा है, जाना पड़ गया, नहीं बच सकता, जितना बच सकता उतना बचे. Ghibat has, someone is talking, backbiting, and you are in a position you can't get out of that company, or you can't move from there, like you're sitting in a bus or so. As much as you can, don't pay attention. So wherever you are, and you think you don't want to do this sin, you don't want to do this pornography or see or look or deal with unlawfully, but circumstances have brought you as though that you have become majboor. Still at that time, even save yourself as much as you can and ask forgiveness from Allah. The punishment will be much lesser on this person. Sayyidina Abdulaziz Dabbagh rahmatullah alayhi even said, he said that if a person is indulged in sin, कोई बंदा गुनाह कर रहा है, so today कोई बंदा गुनाह कर रहा है, and while sinning he remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment and death and fire and the presence of Allah, the punishment of this sin will be much lower than if someone has committed the same sin while completely being forgetful of Allah. यानी गुनाह करना ही नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन अगर गुनाह कर भी रहा है फिर भी अल्लाह को जरूर याद करे कि अल्लाह मुझे देख रहा है जहन्नम को, कि this is going to little bit it is going to decrease your punishment of that sin. Well, he has even given guidance for the people who have indulged themselves in sin. And these days are people Because internet is there, they should be very, very, like the government take license from you, they don't allow children to use some things. For example, they don't allow you to drive if you do accident every day. They'll put points and ban you. So people who go on internet or on their iPhones or mobile phones or internet and again they are doing accidents with pornography and other chatting and things, either they should take themselves away from them, and if they are lower, then if you are a parent or teacher, you should instruct them to actually not to use those instruments. वो ले लें उनसे, क्योंकि वो एक्सीडेंट कर रहे हैं. वो तो कहेंगे हमें क्या, हम ठीक है, what's wrong with using the phone? नहीं, उनको समझ नहीं. So you, inshallah, have actually certain things which are upon you, other students and children are not going to understand. For example, Islam says if a person goes to college, university, he wears a dress according to Muslim standard. Person might say, the teacher says, or someone you say to someone that you should go and wear the Sunnah actually in college. So wo kahe aapse, it's not necessary. When he has been going to school 16 years, whereby it was necessary to wear the uniform of the school. As the Sharia has said so. When for 5 years in the high school, you should have a tie, you should have a uniform. It's not incumbent upon, Sharia has not given ruling, but it is to discipline. So discipline, like, so 16 years a person needs, a person might need a discipline to 25 years. So instructions are given for a particular purpose. Achha, yes, whether
As for other non-pornographic photographs, for example, of a panda bear, properly dressed human, or a building, they are generally mubah to look at.
Mubah means this jaiz, it is lawful.
The instructions we gave above in footnote 26-22 are only for people who are traveling the path and have not yet reached the goal, and not for the general body of the members of our deen.
You see, this clarifies, it says that don't look at the yachts and cars and things. This is referring to that it is meant those people who are traveling the path to Allah, who want to reach Allah very quickly, not the generally people. It's not unlawful to look at them, but haram things they should actually try to avoid.
As for drawing animate life, for example humans, animals and insects, with the hand, it may be employed for instruction purposes, children's cartoons, etc., but only if the depiction is not completely lifelike. Lifelike hand-drawn portraits of humans or other animate creatures are unlawful to make or keep. Please note that plant life is not considered to be animate in our deen, and thus is lawful to draw even if it is lifelike. As for lifelike statues or animate life which include the head, for example a cavalry horseman in stone or a plastic flamingo bird, they are unlawful to make or keep. As for children's toys, they are permissible to make and keep, for example a doll, an action figure, an artificial stuffed animal, etc. It is...
This is the ruling on the pictures according to because they were Maliki faqih according to Imam Malik rahmatullahi. Now generally to keep statues just for decoration purposes it is disallowed. To keep display pictures it is makruh actually of living things, but for education, as they say, educational purposes, war purposes, instruction purposes, teaching purposes, these two-dimensional images can be used, and three-dimensional for these reasons it can be used, but not actually things of honor, decoration or anything like this. And no one, the face should not be visible if you have displayed a picture, then it is allowed. Now regarding the ears, so now you have understood regarding eyes, you are not allowed to look at these things, so we've covered about these things about eyes. Now ears, yes.
It is harder to guard the ears than it is to guard the eyes. This is because we have not been given automatic shutters for the ears as we have for our eyes. Nevertheless, the person traveling the path must try his best not to hear the unlawful, for example, lying, backbiting, carrying tales, stringent musical instruments, horned musical instruments, sexually explicit lyrics, etc.
So these things, after these things, 20 things which we covered, the sins of the tongue, backbiting, slander, 20 sins we covered yesterday. All those 20 are unlawful to hear as well. And in addition to that, music and these things. Regarding music, Brother Osman, if you brothers go to page 321 from the note 2628.
Singing which involves only human voices is generally allowed. However, lewd lyrics, i.e. lyrics that describe sexual acts of nakedness of people or nakedness of people, and bedroom voices, i.e. speaking in a seductive manner, especially if done by women, are unlawful to listen to in real life and from real sounding electronic devices, for example a radio or a telephone. As for unrelated women's voices outside of singing, we are narrating the opinion that they are mubah to listen to for men if these voices are not purposely seductive or high-strung.
So this is referring to that any voice singing way, lewd lyrics which describe sexual acts of nakedness and love and romantic like songs, they are unlawful to listen to and also sing. As for unrelated, non-mahram women voices outside of singing is generally speaking, they are not unlawful. We are raising the opinion that they are mubah, they are lawful to listen to for men if these voices are not purposely seductive or high-strung, meaning for educational purposes, for teaching, for giving them instruction, asking a fatwa, asking guidance from a shaykh and ulama, or for business purposes, for teaching purposes. The voice of women can be heard, it is not unlawful. But normally, the women, if they are out of these, if they are just like cousins and all the social circle, it is not related to business, it's not related to teaching, it's not related for any medical purposes, then these also the women are asked not to speak in soft and gentle voices with men on the phone. فَلَا تَخْضَعْنَا بِالْقَوْلِ. Allah SWT said, don't make your voice to the women very sounding, inviting, very gentle, very romantic. You are not allowed to accept your mahrams and husband to speak like this with any man on the phone. It should be a moderate voice, which is not very harsh and not actually at all on the other side. तो ये बताया गया आप सुन सकते हैं. इसी तरह फ़ोन है, फ़ोन पे वैसे सुन सकते हैं तो फ़ोन पे भी सुन सकते हैं. But the rule will apply कि औरत जवाब दे रही है घर में, कोई बार पूछता है आपका खामिद घर है, आपका भाई है, मैं उनसे बात करनी है. For example, the women should answer in a moderate, harsher way. वो यानी बहुत नरमी से बात ना करे, बड़ी मोहब्बत से, जैसे बहुत ज़्यादा. Because Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala said कि भाई, if you do this in the Quran, Allah said, first He has prohibited and said if you do, you are going to send wrong messages in the heart which already have disease. तो औरत सुन सकती है मर्द की आवाज़ फ़ोन पे या वैसे भी, लेकिन उसको जवाब देने की इजाज़त नहीं है इस तरह की नरमी से. इसी तरह मर्द जो है उसके लिए भी उसे वो अपना कर सकता है बात फ़ोन पे, वैसे औरत से की आवाज़ जो है वो मना नहीं सुनना. लेकिन अगर वो गाना गा रही है, तिलावत कर रही है और या नाते भी पढ़ रही है तो ऐसी आवाज़ नहीं सुनना, अनलेस वो बच्चियां हैं, दे आर नॉट बालिग. अगर वो बड़ी हैं तो उनकी तिलावत की आवाज़ भी, नात की आवाज़ भी वो, क्योंकि वो सुनना वो ठीक नहीं मर्दों के लिए. तो ये है. Now the 26-29.
Imam Malik's opinion that musical instruments is that Everything besides the one-sided tambourine is unlawful to play or listen to. Those among the instruments that the person travelling the path should refrain from listening to are A. String instruments, for example harp, guitar, banjo, violin, etc. B. Wind instruments, for example the clarinet, saxophone, etc. C. Percussion instruments, for example the piano or cymbal, etc. D. Horned instruments, for example the trumpet or the bugle, etc. As most popular and classical music currently contain, and probably in the future will contain, sounds from these instruments, or synthetic lifelike electronic versions of them, the person travelling the path should try his best to avoid listening to such music. As this ruling is difficult to follow at the present time, and probably will be in the future, the person should try his best and ask Allah for forgiveness. The person travelling the path should try his utmost to avoid the 20 unlawful methods of speech listed in footnote 2625. He should watch over himself and keep a daily tally of how many times he slips and disobeys Allah with his tongue.
This is like mentioning the sheet system type thing, some kind of accountability that you keep a daily record of sheets, like 30 days or 40 days, however Mashaykh has whoever you are following, 10 days. But our Mashaykh say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected 30 days for Ramadan. We also try to attain taqwa through 30 days. That is more closer to the Sunnah, the more closer to the Quran and Ramadan. But some kind of accountability should be there.
He should repent immediately from each slip and keep daily tallies on them until he achieves 10 days in a row which are free from all of them.
As I said, for us it is 30 days. They have just actually mentioned 10 days.
The way to get 10 days in a row free of these wrongs of the tongue is to remain quiet and not to speak at all except for daily necessities. The more the person talks, the more likely it is that he will commit one of these acts of disobedience with his tongue. The person on the path must restrict his diet so that he only eats what is lawful. What this means is that he must obey the provisions given in Psalm.
So now we are talking about the stomach. You see, we've gone through the ears and eyes, and now we are going towards we're talking about the stomach.
What this also means is that the money with which the food he eats is bought must be from a lawful income source, i.e. a source other than what is listed in lines 1729 to 1734 of the Guiding Helper. If the person cannot find lawful sustenance, then he should just try his best and eat from the sustenance that is the closest to being lawful.
Again, I say the same ruling he's repeating, that if you find difficult to have complete mubah or halal, lawful sustenance, risk, then you should try just to do the best and eat from the risk that is the closest to being lawful. ये ना करो क्योंकि मैं तो जी मेरा सूद पे मेरा कारोबार है या कुछ इस तरह है, तो अब मैं मतलब यानी चिकन भी हराम खा रहा हूँ एंड बीफ भी हराम खा रहा हूँ रेस्टोरेंट से, क्योंकि मैं तो वैसे ही हराम खा रहा हूँ सूद का, तो अब क्या है? Meaning then you are going towards destruction completely. When you have found difficult a ruling to follow, then do your best. The closest risk, halal risk which you can find of your money. Maybe you have one income doubtful, one income is lawful. So use that lawful income for your food and do the unlawful income doubtful for something else.
Similarly, the person travelling the path should try to wear lawful clothing and live in a lawful dwellings. As this may be difficult, the person should try his best and ask Allah for forgiveness.
This means that person travelling the path, he should wear lawful clothes, not silk like for men, or clothes which they drape down than ankles, which is against the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. के नबी अलैहि सल्लम मना फरमाया बड़ी सख्ती से कि तकब्बर के साथ वह ये टखनों से नीचे तुम्हारी चीज़ कोई ऊँच नहीं आनी चाहिए. So above the ankles, So, and then he said lawful dwelling, lawful houses. Don't live in houses. For example, if you can live in a rented accommodation, don't go on interest living or in somehow. Because you are going to leave it anyway, sooner or later, time of death. So why a person makes it? Because if you're living in unlawful housing, there will be not barakah there in there. Already you are living like बंदा जो कपड़े पहन लेता है हराम माल के, उसकी नमाज कबूल नहीं होती, और जो हराम मकान में रह रहा है तो उसकी बरकत भी खत्म हो जाएगी. Whatever goodness he does is not going to go away. Because it's a constant sin. वो एक मुसलसल गुनाह हो रहा है. तो वो कोशिश करे अब यहाँ. Now this ruling means अब कई लोग, for example, say haram mortgage, there is halal mortgage. Get the halal mortgage. If not, go on rent. Now some people say in halal mortgage there is some things as well, and they are in the same banks as well. Well, that's where this ruling applies. Get the closest to halal. एक halal है, एक haram है. What is closest to halal? It might have few deficiencies in there, but it is still better and lawful than actually the haram one. लेकिन ये रूलिंग जो बार बार वो फरमा रहे हैं, again and again he is saying that when you are in such circumstances you have option. One is 100% haram, one is 10% haram. Go for the 10%, ask forgiveness for the 10%, and you have a good chance you will be forgiven. Now the next part we are going to go is the we have stomach and private parts. Stomach को तो आपने cover किया है some extent, one note is left, and then private parts, sins of the private parts. Yeah.
Do not swallow any pig products. You may also pour out the wine and recycle the bottle instead of smashing it to pieces. Safeguard your private parts. Do not show it to anyone who is not your spouse except for medical examination and the like.
Yes, this means that you are not allowed to show the part from your knees to your navel to any man or woman except your wife. And similarly, one woman cannot show other women any part from that as well. She has a satar for women as well. For example, there's two sisters, two friends, women, they can't even show each other the parts from their knees to their navel. That is satar for them as well. For men, except their hands and faces, it's unlawful to look, unlawful to reveal for them. For men, between them, also from the navel to the knees, यानी नाव से शुरू करके घुटनों तक पर्दा रहना चाहिए. कई लोग तहमत बांधते हैं, हम तहमत बांध रहे हैं, और वो जो है या जो तो वो इस चीज़ का ख्याल ना रखेंगे, वो ऊपर किया होगा, घुटनों से घुटने नजर आ रहे हैं या घुटनों से ऊपर, तो वो फिर न जाएंगे गुजरेंगे. इसी तरह जो लोग वहाँ एहराम बांधते हैं हम लोग, तो उसमें बांधते हुए भी ख्याल करना चाहिए कि भाई कैसे बांध रहा है बंदा, कैसे बैठा हुआ है, because people are not used to it and these things. भाई सतर ना शो करो.
Do not commit incest with your family members or sexually abuse children. It is unlawful to do so.
Do not commit incest with your family members or sexually abuse children. This refers to in-house, because the Imam Abdul Wahid said on the top, if you read, he said, safeguard your private parts outside and in your house. Outside and in your house. Outside is with other people, other women. Inside is your own relatives are living there. Your own relatives are living there. You have certain, so these things do happen very rarely, but do happen. For example, safeguard yourself. Even incest means actually to have a sexual relationship with a mahram person, like a cousin who has, for example, drank the milk of same, you and her have drank the milk of same mother, she's like your sister. So to have a relationship with her is like incest. Or with sister or daughter. So you safeguard yourself from this, and sexual activity outside unlawful. Yeah.
Do not have vaginal or oral sexual intercourse with anybody who is not your spouse.
This refers to where he says don't sleep with anybody unless they are, don't sleep. Because a person says, look, What does sleep mean? Sleep means that you are not allowed to kiss or in any way engage in sexual activity with other member, which is unlawful. So say zina to hai haram, but these things are also not allowed, and it will harm your journey and it will take you much away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Additionally, do not engage in anal intercourse with anybody, including your spouse. It is unlawful to do so.
This is a sin which is unlawful, even to have this way relationship with one's lawful wife, it is unlawful. And as I said, Rasulullah said that these people have come out of the guidance of Quran who does this, and they are people of it is mentioned that they are minor Amale Qawmi Lut. The homosexual act was the people of Qawmi Lut did. This is like a minor of that. So this is unlawful as well.
Moreover, do not practice homosexuality. It is unlawful to do so. All of these rulings in these last two songs and almost all of the guiding helper apply to both males and females. There are some acts that are on the borderline of being unlawful, i.e. it is not clear whether they are unlawful or not. The person traveling the path should refrain from performing all acts that are on the borderline of being unlawful, and all acts whose rulings he has doubts about. However, the person who has a constant problem with doubts about small issues, i.e. he doubts about small things every day, like whether or not the bread he is eating is lawful or not because it contains ingredients that may have been taken from an unslaughtered animal, should ignore all his doubts and continue to concentrate on major issues like performing the 5 prayers, paying zakat, fasting in Ramadan, and staying away from the 20 acts listed in section C of footnote 244.
So in that, things which are on borderline, for normal Muslims they do again, because they are not in the past to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are not interested. For them it's different matter. But if you want closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you are very sensitive of your spiritual health, you should avoid things which are on the borderline. But then he has said about people, some people have a disease that they are thinking that they have got wuzu or not. They will wash their hand 10 times and they spend too much time in the toilet, and will actually say that someone has come into their house, they might have actually filtered it, there might be something. If they go outside, they think a dog might have passed there, and it has. तो कई लोग वहमी होते हैं, वहमी, भाई उनको हाथ धोने बार-बार, कोई बंदा आ गया उसके कदम पर कोई गंद ना लगाओ, किसी काफर ने हाथ लगा दिया, क्या पता थी उसने शराब पी हो, उसने हाथ लगा दिया, तो वहमी लोग हैं, उनके लिए है कि वो सिर्फ बड़ी बड़ी चीज़ों का ख्याल रखें जो शरीयत ने हराम कर दी है, बस उनसे बचें, दूसरों की परवाह ना करें। और जो वहमी नहीं है उनको शुबे वाली चीज़ों से भी बचना चाहिए. They should actually avoid. So I think we'll cover up to here, and now we'll take some questions and then inshallah. आज जो है tongue, eyes, or ears, stomach and private parts, they are covered. 2 are left, and then we go to the mind, and then inshallah. And also a very important part regarding visions have been covered. Visions and dreams, that in this spiritual field it is possible that you come across these things, and how to safeguard yourself from going astray and leading others astray. We have given you some basic guidance.
So if inshallah brothers put your hand up and only ask questions related to today's topics.
I want some clarity on the item we read, number 2637, and that reads, do not have vaginal or oral sexual intercourse with anybody who is not your spouse. Now, the clarity is that my understanding is that in Islam, oral sex, as is known in the Western countries, is forbidden. Can you please clarify?
Yes, regarding that ruling is that there is a part you have to be on the, as I say, borderline. Oral sex can have many meanings. One is like you say that people, non-Muslims or don't have any guidance, they practice. One is, for example, a wife touches the parts of the husband, genital, that is allowed, and the husband touches the parts of the wife, allowed. The haram thing in there in Islam is to actually be contact with the fluids of the private parts. If they come into your mouth, it is allowed. But if, for example, it is makruh, but if suppose a wife or a husband kisses the parts of his wife which are like below the navel, or the wife kisses the parts of the private parts of the husband, तो वो haram नहीं है, वो अपना, लेकिन उसमें कराहत है. Haram part is the fluid discharge, mean taking that into the mouth, that is. But if she, wife is, or the husband is kissing around her body, he can kiss all the body. There's no restriction on that, or with his hand. Imam Abu Hanifa was asked, in Fatawa Alamgiri, this fatwa, Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah was asked that if a wife plays or actually with her hands, with her husband's private parts or for arousal or thing, what is the ruling? Imam Abu Hanifa said, in my opinion, she will get reward for it, because this is included in the foreplay. So there is a borderline there, I have mentioned to you. Now some modest people, they don't like anything that they, of this nature. They just want to have a straightforward relationship, and they don't, even looking at the private parts is not haram but makruh, right, of wife and husband. Other body is allowed, but the actual private part, even if there is karahat, dislikeness in there, but it is not haram. If someone is doing, so we can't actually say that he is sinful or haram, but actually it is not desirable act. So Islam gives ruling to fit everyone in the society. Some people will be modest, some people will be there, some people will, and then there is the final line, you can't go after, that is given as well. Jazakallah. Walaikum salam.
I was actually basically upstairs. I was still paying attention, listening to your beautiful dawah. And basically, what it is, I've got a question for you. It's all about homosexuals and, you know, gays and lesbians, or whatever they want to call themselves. I've got a lot of gay colleagues and, you know, lesbian friends at work. I don't do research in that sort of sense. I mean, can they get forgiveness, like if they were to repent sins, or, you know, or is it wrong to have like gay colleagues and friends sometimes, you know, in that sort of sense? As being in the westernized country, I myself westernized, and a lot of brothers and sisters are, and it is, I mean, it's government rule as well. I mean, you can't say anything, you know, against that, like, you know, saying gay or lesbian or homosexual, and, you know, you can get penalised for it as well. That's it.
Right, if you see some laws are there from Bible, and these laws are coming from previous scriptures like the Torah and Bible about homosexuality and Quran, all divine revealed religions, they prohibit. But here in many countries have different laws, they are, for example, lawful in there. So if you, because everyone is free to practice their religion, exchange views, free, and give the message. There is no restriction on that. Like they are free to do whatever they want, we are free to do whatever they want in lawful way, in the circle of law. So if you have like a friend or colleagues who are working with you, yes, you ask them, can they repent? Yes, they can repent, they can be forgiven if they do truly repent. And secondly, you say to have friendship with them as such, is that there are so many friends, but if they are colleagues, your colleagues meaning in the sense of work or there, and they interact with you some, so to not to actually be with them with this intention to actually invite them towards goodness, to interact or say salam to them in that regard, that is fine. But to become one of them in Islamic terms will be unlawful, because if you will be in the company of them all the time, it is a strong possibility that you will say it will, the sin or that wrong thing will look less wrong to you, and there is a danger that you can fall in there as well. Exactly.
Assalamu alaikum. My question is that I work in the public sector. I have to check IDs and so on, people getting on my vehicle and so on forth. If a female boat with a veil over her, I still have to check her ID, because if there is, as we call them, unknown inspectors that sit on the vehicles, and they do check-ins if you've issued tickets, if you've checked everybody and so on. Where would I stand in this situation? Also, females board my vehicle every time I'm on my service, and I have to have a look at them. Where would I stand in this situation? No, please.
This people experience this at airports and things. You see, if it was Islamic government, they provide rules. For example, they can apply rules, like there was a big case about the scanners in the airport and things that people are scanned. The problem could be solved very easily, that if women are looking at women, then actually there is no problem. They are looking at a scan of women for security reason. But for security and witnessing purposes, identification purposes, as I say, the ideal way is actually for women should identify as women. But as I say, you have a job, you are an officer, you have to identify, then we apply that ruling that if you have to look, don't actually, meaning just identify for identification purposes, don't let lust or actually desire inside there, just for that purpose, security, and ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is fine. That is fine. For security reasons, people shouldn't be sure how. The parda of the face, there is opinion of ulama, some say it's necessary, some say it is optional. So it's already flexibility, and those of our women that go here in the marketplaces and they're just going without parda, and once they go on the airport they say no, we don't want to show, and they're causing a big scene there. That is not really, actually they're giving even a bad name to their religion as well as causing people difficulty. For identification purposes, like a doctor, these are security and medical have exceptions, you see, identification, because you are not looking for pleasure or anything. Like a woman who doesn't find, her doctor is a person who is a male, and for that reason for example, he have to look at her arm or touch arm, and the nurse or other doctor is not there, female doctor, he can do, and it is lawful for that reason, and a person can actually do. That incident happened in the time of Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala, where a woman had a particular disease. She was a bleeding discharge from her private parts, and other female doctors could not treat her. There was one male doctor of that time. He said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I can cure this disease. I can cure this, but it is not allowed for, but she is a woman. Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala gave him the instruction that regarding the woman, that cover her all parts with the veil or with clothing, and just leave that part where you need to operate on, and you can operate on her. So medical security issue, there is flexibility, but keep that ruling in mind that you, by just on the excuse of identifying people, you don't take any enjoyment from there. Then you understand. Similarly, if you are in the case of medical, again become a person, a woman who have fainted, you are to give her first aid. Now, to actually pump her heart or anything, you might have to touch her stomach or breast, or actually to her, it is allowed. But at that time, the ruling which we mentioned again and again, even in those circumstances, don't actually take enjoyment from the good feeling, just actually have actually your function which you are performing. So that ruling, that sentence which the Shaykh has said regarding there, that in circumstances when it is difficult for you to avoid certain things, just be best as possible you can and ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the way. Don't make that sin lawful for you, but just avoid as much as you can.
Two questions. One is something came, a query a brother had earlier in the week. He said, I can take the spiritual teachings from the teacher, but I can't take all the fiqh. And related to what the teacher said about mortgage, what the question is, sorry, I'm explaining it. What the question is can you take a different opinion on mortgage and still benefit from the teacher, or can the teacher elaborate on what?
Any student who is following a different fiqh, like he is Salafi, he is Hanbali, Shafi'i, Hanafi, he is following. Here, what we teach here, the spiritual path, that requires that he should follow some kind of fiqh, which is an accepted school of thought. If he follows a different school of thought, which has differences with the teacher, it doesn't matter. He will be fine. He won't get it. But he should know that really well that the four schools of thought, that no one loves the interest. It's not that he is just having come up with a new opinion. The fuqaha cannot make things which are declared unlawful in the Quran, they can't make lawful. Opinion is taken where Quran and Sunnah is silent. Where Quran and Rasulullah is silent, then we follow the fuqaha. And if they have given the ruling, then no one can change. But yes, the rule is like Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah alayhi, he was humbly, he used to put his hands here in the prayer. When he goes to ruku, he would do rafa yadayn. He used to say Ameen loudly. That he is humbly faqih. But people who follow him in the spiritual terms, they are from all walks of life, all school thoughts. Some Hanafis are following him, Shafis are following him, they respect him. Similarly, Shaykh Abu Madian Ghaus, Rahmatullah alayhi, Shaykh Abul Hasan Shazali, Shaykh Abdul Aziz Dabbagh, they were all Maliki people. And people follow them from different. Similarly, other Sayyid Ahmad Kabir Rifai is probably Shafi'i. And others are Hanafi. So, fiqh is different thing, the tariq is different thing. Fiqh is a condition, rulings is a condition for the tariq, but which fiqh they follow is up to them. But they should follow and they should know the ruling of their own fiqh. Yeah.
And the second question is, may I ask where this commentary came from? Because it has modern words like yacht and things like that. Is it modern?
Yes, it is a person, Shaykh Abu Qanit Hassani, or who have done really the commentary. There are about 10 or 7 commentaries on this Murshid al-Mu'in. There are 10. He has taken from those commentaries. The scholar Shaykh Abdul Wahid himself has done commentary as well. So he's taken the commentary and put it in English, and because we're living in this time, he's actually put footnotes and things to make it more relevant to the people there. So the person who done the commentary, he's still living. I think he lives in, he's been in Morocco, but he lives somewhere in America or some other country, I don't know. But he's a person from West who gone to study from East and Maghrib and then written. So as I say that it is a very good notes and very good commentary and guidelines in some, many times on this book of Murshid al-Mu'in, especially the spiritual part. And this is only, you see, this is the commentary only, the notes you see. There is no dalil with it, that where it comes from, Quran and Sunnah. There is a whole book folder with the whole ahadith and Quranic verses which back up these old rulings and this commentary. You can get that as well. I have, you can come and see. वो तो हम जान ही रहे कि वक्त बहुत लगेगा, वरना इसमें हर एक चीज़ जो लिखी हुई है उसका कुरान और हदीस की दलील वो भी लिखी हुई है और उलमा की. लेकिन to make it easy, we've cut that out and reading what is actually to understand first. But if anyone wants evidence, there is evidence for all of these commentaries, for Quran and Ahadith.
A couple of questions. One was in relation to the dreams and visions. You mentioned, for example, that Ibrahim saw an angel, even though she was not a prophet. I just want to ask if there's any other examples from the time of the Sahabas or the Prophet where they had dreams or visions. So
the Sahaba is Ajmain, many a time they've seen Jibreel alayhi salam. Rasulullah like in the famous hadith of Jibreel, he came in the form of man and he was asking questions from Prophet Mal Imanu Ya Rasulullah, Mal Islamu Ya Rasulullah, Mal Ihsanu. And all Sahaba were seeing him, and after that Rasulullah said that this was Jibreel. So Sahaba is one in mind. But when it comes to the Quran, the matter ends there. And in Sahaba's life that they've seen angels on the battle of Badr. They say, Ya Rasulullah, in the battle we see two men dressed in white on your right and left, very, very fearful and fierceful, and they were fighting as well. Prophet said this was Jibreel and Mikael protecting the Rasulullah. So battle of Badr, other thing, and also in the Quran it is mentioned very clearly that in the ancient time of Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ma unzila ala al-malakaini bi Babila Harut wa Marut. Two angels called Harut and Marut who came to people, everyone could see them, and they instructed people that don't learn magic. People were learning magic at that time. They said this is a great test for you. You have opportunity to get it from shayateen, and it will have supernatural powers, but it is a fitna for you, don't do it. तो उस वक्त भी आता है कि वो फरिश्ते सब लोग देख रहे थे. In Sahaba Rizwan Ajmain times, many times they saw angel Jibreel alayhi salam और मरियम रज़ी अल्लाह ताला के बारे में तो बताया आपको. And many other hadiths of kashf and things they have seen.
And the second question was in relation to on the tariq we have various formulas of zikrs and azkars that are prescribed to us to give us energy, to give us soul food, to tread the path and to take the course. So all my question was that these formulas, how do you derive these formulas, and how have the Mashaykh come to these formulas? Are they based on a hadith or how are they derived?
They are from Quran and Sunnah. For example, let's say we read Masnoon Azkar in morning. And if you select 7 du'as for it and say, do it, there will be barakah, because this will protect you from evil. This dua will actually help you in actually for barakah of rizq. You can prescribe. So the azkars which Mashayikh give, they are from the Sunnah and Quran. La ilaha illallah, Ya Allah, or actually other zikr, istighfar, and Durood Sharif, the asma of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a person can read 99 names every day, which is a great blessing. You can select 7 from them and do that. There is no restriction. So where the Quran and Sunnah has given a free hand that you can do whatever you want in that matter, and so you can. Then the Mashayikh, due to having different effects, the name and the azkars, they prescribe them in the proper manner. according to their own opinion.
I have come across certain people who are actually living in our society. They are neither men or women. I'm wondering if you could shed some light how to basically advise these people in terms of dawah, or does Sharia apply to such people?
Yes, these people, they existed in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, and thereafter as well. And Sharia, according to whatever level it is possible, it applies to them as well. They have same, you see, the spirit, the ruh of the human being is no man or women. It is only the body. So some people have operation, they become men now, some have become women. Actually, they have changed their gender. So the spirit which they have is no man or woman. It's not female or male, that's the ruh. And the ruh of human being they have, so they have full potential actually regarding application of Sharia and success in the hereafter. They shouldn't feel that they are less off, but rather I think they can get much higher spiritual status really, because they have been put in a very high sophisticated test, which is different than other human being, and they constantly, if they are in Sharia, constantly their status is going to rise day by day, even than the other people if they are steadfast. So their example would be like a person who is ill or who is diseased, their sins get forgiven, their status gets raised, and they are in a constant test. They're not man or women, they can't interact normally, they can't do many things. So like Rasulullah mentioned, a person who loses his eyesight, and then he practices patience, Prophet said, the reward for him is nothing other than Jannah. So if they have some fault with private parts, in which even is a more test rather, and they become patient, in Jannah they might have a much higher status than men and other women, normal, who have not been actually so much steadfast.
Just one more thing is that these people are getting married, and eventually when partners find out that it comes into divorce, now are they allowed to get married? And in some cases they get married, but it comes into forgive me, it comes into homosexuality. So
yes, these people, if they have for example some kind of little bit of defect, and it can be fixed or it can be corrected with operation and things, and then for example they are just normal men or women to some extent, then they can marry. But those who don't have this, even after operation they can't, then they can't have, in Islamic terms, Islamic law, they can't have a marriage and have relationship of a homosexual relationship. That will be unlawful for them.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
ठीक है जी, जज़ाकल्लाह में अल्लाह सुब्हानहु व तआला give us more understanding. But the main thing is that you firstly get yourself in order. These things which are mentioned, focus on yourself, not other people. When they will deal with their problems, or when they come, we'll deal with them. But firstly, we need to help ourselves. 20 years has passed, 15 years has passed, 30 years. अभी हम 7,000 के गुनाह से भी पाक नहीं हो गए. हमें तो सीरियसली मदद चाहिए. पिछले औलिया अल्लाह और बुजुर्ग वो खुद ही दिनों में, महीने में वो कर लेते थे ये तज़किया, because they had a strong will, and we are not going to go. If these things are keeping us behind from Allah, we are not going to let them become an obstacle. तो वो ज़बरदस्ती का इसलिए वो मुजाहिदा जो बताया था कल वो करते थे. But this way of tariqa Muhammadiyya is such a way that majority can follow. The way going to jungle, only minority can follow. This way you can live in the world, but not become of the world. Live in the world and become actually also a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by just avoiding the haram. Because many other scholars and things, they're just, at the moment, they're just talking about only you should become pious, read this book says this and that, but practical guidance to normal people is not given. They don't know how to begin or what to travel, their way to go. And they just, either theory, or they come out of madrasa after 8 years study and they had no tazkiyah done. They become hafiz and they are no tazkiyah. They are living life worse than even normal pious person. So this is necessary part for all. Not necessary to become scholars for all, but necessary for tazkiyah, is necessary for scholars, for ulama, for normal people, for businessmen, for everyone, and everyone can follow. Because this doesn't need much time. It just does a way of thinking and some things, rather it saves time, because it gets the useless things away from you. Useless watching TV, useless hearing, wasteful thinking. It saves you time. It gives you time. You can use it for more fruitful and more productive things. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.